I'm so glad to be back and see all of you. How many of you were here the last time I came? You remember? Okay, almost everybody. Maybe a couple of new students. Well, that's great. It's so good to see you. I saw you this time last year, and I saw you a couple times during the year, and now it's the end of 3rd grade. I can't believe it. You guys have grown so much in the last year. I bet you've learned a lot too, haven't you? Yeah. Okay, raise your hand if you're ready for summer break. I thought so. The teachers are waving over there. Hey, I need y'all to be really nice to your teachers the rest of today and tomorrow, because they have done a terrific job all year, and they've worked very hard. And I know that you all appreciate all the things they've taught you this year, don't you? Yeah. Very good. Now, let's see. How many of you have been trying to read 20 minutes a day? All right, good. Well, I've been reading 20 minutes a day, and the governor has been reading 20 minutes a day, and I'm very, very proud of you for doing that. And I saw a sign when I came in that said, did the school read over 51,000 books? That is amazing. I tell you what, I am really proud of you. I'm gonna start talking about you as I go around the state. That might be a record. That's terrific. I hope that you, as we talked about last summer, I hope you remember this summer to keep reading 20 minutes a day too, because I tell you what, I would bet that it helped you all through the year to be a stronger reader because you've been reading more and you read over the summer. How many of you will go to the library this summer? Okay, that's a great place to go and get books over the summertime, because your school library is closed, so you've got to go to the public library to get those books. And there are all kinds of books. We've talked about this before. You just got to find the kind of books you like to read. Can somebody raise their hand and tell me what kind of books they like to read? Books about something or a certain author? Okay, what about you? What? Dinosaur books, okay? Junie B. Jones. All right, my little girl used to like those when she was your age. In the back row. Make-believe books. Okay, good. How about you? Goosebumps? Yeah, those are great books. Okay, back there. R.L. Stine. R.L. Stine? Good. How about you? Mysteries. Okay, lots of different kinds of books. See? Okay. Sports books. Pony books. All right. Magic Tree House. Those are good. All kinds of chapter books. Okay, how about you? Drama. Okay. Let's go. I'll do, how about 3 more in orange? Harry Potter. One. Cat books. Okay. Last one. Scary books. Okay. So if you just find books you like to read, then it makes reading fun, and you can go on adventures while reading a book. You'll never be bored. And it will help you in school. Because I know I talked to you a lot about you need to be reading really well at the end of 3rd grade, which is where you are. Because after this, you're going to be reading a whole lot more to learn things about science and social studies and math and all kinds of things. So the fact that you're a good reader now is going to help you as you go on through school and on to college. It's never too early to start talking about college. Or community college or whatever, training, whatever it is. I want to talk to you a little bit about something I'm starting this summer, and it's called the First Lady's Book Club. And does anybody know what a book club is? What do you think it is? A club where everybody sits around and reads a book. You can get around and you can get 2 friends, or you can do it with the whole group. You read the same book, and then maybe you get together and talk about it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have on my website information about the books that we pick to read, and then you can send back in what you thought about the book, or you can look at activities that we planned that you can do with your parents or your brother or sister to make the book even more fun. So it's going to be something that's on the computer. If you have a computer, you can look it up starting in June, and I'm going to give you a bookmark today to remind you about that. And the first book on the First Ladies Book Club is a book called Frindle. Has anybody read this book before? Some of you have, all right. Well, it's a fun book, and I'm going to read a little part of it to you today. if that's okay. Are y'all ready to listen? Okay. Sit down. Okay. Well, is that going to work? Let's see. Okay, this is Frindle, and it's by Andrew Clements. Somebody tell me, on the front row, what is that picture of on the front? A pen. He's holding, a boy holding a pen. Well, I'm going to start with chapter 6. So you've missed a little bit, but this is just a little part of the book, because we don't have time to read the whole book. It's 16 chapters, which is a lot, but it's a really good book. The big idea. 3 things happened later that same afternoon. Nick and Janet had missed the bus because of a school newspaper meeting, so they walked home together. They were seeing who could walk along the curb without falling. It took a lot of concentration, and when Janet stepped off into the street, Nick said, "That's 3 points for me." But Janet said, "I didn't fall, I saw something, look." She bent down and picked up a gold ballpoint pen, the fancy kind. That was the first thing, Janet finding the pen. Then they got back on the curb, and Nick followed Janet, putting one foot carefully in front of the other on the narrow concrete curb. And while he stepped along, he thought back over the school day, especially about his report, and what Mrs. Granger had said about words at the end of the period finally sank in. That was the second thing, understanding what Mrs. Granger had said. She said, "Who says dog, D-O-G, means dog?" "You do, Nicholas." "You do, Nicholas," he repeated to himself. "I do?" Nick thought, still putting one foot in front of the other, following Janet. "What does that mean?" And then Nick remembered something. When he was about 2 years old, his mom had bought him one of those unbreakable cassette players and a bunch of sing-along tapes. He had loved them, and he played them over and over and over and over. He would carry the tape and the player to his mother or his big brother or his father and bang them together and say, "Waggle-up, waggle-up, waggle-up," until someone put the cassette in the machine and turned it on. And for 3 years, whenever he said "waggle-up," his family knew that he wanted to hear those pretty sounds made with voices and instruments. Then when he went to preschool, he learned that if he wanted his teacher and the other kids to understand him, he had to use the word music. But "waggle-up" meant that nice sound to Nick because Nick said so. "Who says waggle-up means music?" "You do, Nicholas." "No fair," yelled Janet. They were at the corner of their own street, and Nick bumped into her, completely absorbed in his thoughts. Janet stumbled off the curb and a gold pen in her hand clattered onto the street. "Sorry, I didn't mean to, honest," said Nick. I just wasn't watching. Here." Nick stooped over and picked up the pen and held it out to her. "Here's your..." And that's when the third thing happened. Nick didn't say pen. Instead, he said, "Here's your Frindle." "Frindle?" Janet took her pen and looked at him like he was nuts. She wrinkled her nose and said, "What's a Frindle?" Nick grinned and said, "You'll find out. See you later." It was there at the corner of Spring Street and South Grand Avenue, 1 block from home on a September afternoon. That's when Nick got the big idea. And by the time he had run down the street and up the steps and through the door and upstairs to his room, it wasn't just a big idea, it was a plan, a whole plan, just begging for Nick to put it into action. And action was Nick's middle name. The next day after school, the plan began. Nick walked into the penny pantry store and asked the lady behind the counter for a Frindle. She squinted at him. "A what?" "A Frindle, please, a black one," said Nick, smiling at her. She leaned closer and aimed one ear at him. "You want what?" "A Frindle," and this time Nick pointed at the ballpoint pens behind her on the shelf. "A black one, please." The lady handed Nick the pen. He handed her the 49 cents and said thank you and left the store. 6 days later, Janet stood at the counter of the penny pantry. Same store, same lady. John had come in the day before, and Pete the day before that, and Chris the day before that, and Dave the day before that. Janet was the 5th kid that Nick had sent there to ask that woman for a Frindle. And when she asked, the lady reached right back for the pens and said, "Blue or black?" Nick was standing 1 aisle away at the candy racks, and he was grinning. Frindle was a real word. It meant pen. Who says Frindle means pen? You do, Nicholas. Half an hour later, a group of serious fifth graders had a meeting in Nick's playroom. It was John, Pete, Dave, Chris, and Janet. Add Nick and that's 6 kids. 6 secret agents. They held up their right hands and read the oath Nick had written out. From this day on and forever, I will never use the word pen again. Instead, I will use the word Frindle, and I will do everything possible so others will too. All 6 of them signed the oath with Nick's Frindle. The plan would work. Thanks, Mrs. Granger. Can we read one more short chapter?